Hi, everybody. This is Gary Gomes. It's Saturday, June 17th, day before Father's Day. 2 days before the celebration of June 19th. I'd like to say hello to all the fathers and all the LGBTQT plus people out there. This is actually a second take. The first take kept breaking up on me because of internet connections. Hopefully, this one will be able to be taped all the way through. Um, okay, so I'm going to talk about certain configurations. We're going to talk a little bit about retrogrades. We have a retrograde Saturn in the sky right now. Oh, by the way, before I forget, to contact me for readings, instruction in Gemini astrology, instruction in any of a variety of astrological techniques or remedial measures, or to get a reading done if you need a reading and something's happening in your life and you want to find out what the pattern in your life is going to be like for the next few months and years. I can be reached at 508 525 0001. Again, that's 508 525 0001. I'm planning to have some interesting interviews come up on this channel. One with the great Alan Anand, who's a very gifted astrologer, very smart guy. And also, I will be having another session with uh, Lolita Donatello Rebecca, who is very popular on this channel and is an excellent astrologer and human being. And also, I am going to be speaking at the Saptarishi Gurukulam event for the late C.S. Patel, one of the great Vedic astrologers of the 20th and 21st centuries. Um, and working with Sunil John um, on helping with Saptarishi magazine. If anybody would like to join me on the channel, it can be Western, Eastern, Chinese, astrology, numerology, religious beliefs, spiritual practices, anything. I am open to that. Just contact me. You can email me. You can send me a message in the YouTube message board. You can email me at GaryGomesG@gmail.com. That's GaryGomes, the letter G at gmail.com. Or you can look me up on Facebook. Be careful of the email addresses that are on Facebook or on Instagram, though, because some of them are, in fact, out of date. And I wouldn't want you sending something to me at the wrong email address. You can also messenger me through any of the messenger links that I have on any of these channels. You can also contact me through WhatsApp, Signal, any of the a lot. I'm on a lot of the social media channels, and let's see now, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn too. I'm on Twitter. You can contact me through any of those formats. So yeah, so the Saptarishi astrology event should be really interesting. Starts July 1st, runs on weekends through July 15th, and we're really looking forward to that. It's going to be a big event. I just got finished with the Astrology Gurukulam, and they were located in Pennsylvania, and there were many fine speakers there, and you can pick up the recordings of that particular event by contacting the Astrology Gurukulam. Okay, so enough of the advertisement done. I did want to speak about retrogrades today, retrograde planets. are starting to show up with increasing frequency in the charts. So we've had a few months of planets going direct, but Saturn's going. Saturn went retrograde yesterday. Over the past couple of weeks, there have been a lot of extra responsibilities people have layered on them, and a lot of obligations and duties that have been layered on them. So, what happens before a planet goes retrograde is it assumes a position called stationary direct. And the way it was explained to me years ago when I was first studying was it's like the planet is staring fixed straight at the Earth. And stationary direct planets are really extraordinarily strong. So it's like the planet's just fixed in space, and all its energy is focused on the Earth. And where that is in your chart will bring up issues connected with that particular um, space in your chart. It'll connect with certain things that you have to do. Like I'll just give you an example. In my case, Saturn rules my fourth house and rules my 12th house. So I've had a lot of expenses connected with property, and also in terms of cleaning up things or addressing faults connected with property. So we have to have some plumbing, uh, an expensive plumbing job done this past week, and we also have to clean up in the same space. It's underground, which is a perfect Saturn analogy, right? So it's below the surface. So I think now again, this won't necessarily be true for you in your chart, but Saturn also has to do. I've also had people telling me they've been experiencing personal put downs or getting loaded with extra work or having fear of additional responsibilities being loomed their way. These are all significations connected with Saturn. Now, Saturn is also extraordinarily good for discipline. I've gotten a lot more disciplined over the past week. And it's also really good for developing muscles. So if anybody's really interested in muscle development, they can go back and review lessons they've had before and review areas they're deficient in. If there's any unfinished business you have to take care of over the next 4 to 5 weeks, of 4 to 5 months, excuse me, I would start taking care of them. Expect to do a lot of tasks over again. We're also hitting a lot of retrograde activity. So we have Pluto and Neptune retrograde as well. And so Pluto will essentially start um, uncovering some disruptions in government or in business that we were expecting. Neptune will bring up issues connected with drugs and spiritual movements. And also, it can be a risky time for people who have alcohol problems or drug problems. It's also, I think, an imaginative time in which people tend to move um, backwards in um, what they enjoy or what they take pleasure in. So I think it's interesting in that there have been um, a lot of oh gosh, there's been a lot of conservatism in uh, starting to creep into media again, or maybe a reaction to um, social reform making its way into media in a variety of contexts. And this has been going on for a few months now, but it really accelerated over the past couple of months. And I think you'll see more of that with the Saturn retrograde. Nothing stays the way it is forever. There's an old line from a musician um, uh, who I liked, and I still like, who's passed away, called "If things don't change for better or worse, well, man, you must be dead." So I think one of the things is the world, the material world, is always changing. It's always um, manifesting in new different ways. We've also had cessation. One thing that Saturn retrograde in particular does is it, um, and Neptune retrograde to a lesser extent does this. It reaffirms older beliefs, and it also Saturn retrograde also um, brings priorities to the surface. So let's say in the Trump indictments for um, the classified documents, that's at a federal level. Automatically, the cases against Trump in New York uh, are being, from what I have heard, are being suspended until this is resolved. So that this may be resolved quickly, it may be resolved at the end of the year, it may not be resolved. There are also some discussions, and this is um, there's an expression saying the quiet part out loud, which pops to the surface, and that is some news people have been saying, well, this might mean that um, if he bargains for um, or actually, one anchor said the government might drop the charges if he agrees not to run. And another news person said, well, that would just back up Trump's claims that this is being done for political reasons. And then they said it would have to come from his team if that were offered. And I thought it was an interesting slip, if in fact there were a slip. And on the other side, the Biden case is being um, pushed back into the forefront. Now, again, there has been, just to be clear, there have been no Biden has Joe Biden has been accused of no crimes. So this is a reinvestigation or a reopening of an investigation, which was effectively blocked a couple of years ago. Now, I'm not saying there's anything there. I don't know. But like I said, the idea that this is being reopened is also a Saturn retrograde phenomenon and also a Saturn straight aspect. Um, we're also seeing some things happening around the world in which certain governments, like New Zealand, comes to mind quickly, and France and even Germany are experiencing dismay on the part of their voters. And there is really, because of the Jupiter Rahu conjunction, there's dismay with the balance of power in the world, and especially with the United States supremacy in world events, or and in some ways it's understandable because Europe in particular is hurting because of the Ukraine-Russia war. The United States isn't hurting as much. And other countries are trying to make other deals so they can get access to oil. So India is actually funneling oil from Russia to the rest of the world. You know, there are also some protests are allegedly funneling oil. I'll correct that. And so there are a variety of methods being used to um, take back some power. So it'll be interesting to see. Also, one thing I did notice over the past several months, there has been an increasing um, interest in finding out how much um, the social media companies are working with governments, not just in the United States but around the world. I actually indicated this in an interview about, I would say, around 4 or 5 years ago, um, with an astrologer from Ireland uh, who who was asking me what I saw as being the big changes around the world. And number one, I saw investigation coming up of the internet, of the large internet companies. But I think what happened was you actually had more government involvement. Now, again, keep in mind, government um, involvement with media goes back a long way. I was discussing uh, the chart of um, William Randolph Hearst with uh, with a student, gosh, maybe about a week and a half ago. And Hearst was instrumental in a couple of events like the Spanish American War and the Yellow Scare. He also became um, backed Roosevelt, then became pro-Nazi about 2 years into Roosevelt's administration. So it's so these are so the media are any media are by definition large players and they interact with the government. Okay, and we have a long history uh, of media either um, assisting or opposing the government. Usually, it's assisting. In most countries, its role has been assisting the government, and there's a very simple reason for that. Most media are aligned with people who have power, so it's so this isn't a real shocker. Media in the United States are aligned with very strong commercial interests. So, so again, this isn't a real surprise. Occasionally, when things get too um, hot to handle, you'll have different reporters break in and take things out, but they pay a price. Uh, Bernard Shore got fired from CBS for leaking documents. And you had people like, oh gosh, the guy who leaked the NSA documents, I can't remember his name right now, who's essentially awaiting trial. He's not a media person, but he released secret documents. And I think one of the things that happens is you start to um, see that some of these relationships, some of them are necessary, some of them are healthy, some of them aren't. And this is the distinction. And there's a lot of activity happening. There was a lot of activity happening with Mercury Rahu over the past few weeks, and now with Mercury and Jupiter, and the credibility. And you're also seeing a change in media sources happening on an international level. So that now that people have more access to more things like this, and and access to more things like TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. but there's also a darker side to these things. As some of the allegations against Instagram are coming out right now. So I have nothing against any of these companies. They're out to make money. They're out to make a profit. But I think what happens is you have this large um, conglomerate, or not conglomerate. You have this large network that essentially both makes news and reports news. And this is fairly common. This is not really a staggering revelation. It's not. It's not that I'm the first person who saw this. I'm far from it. But um, but but again, it's media is like a knife. It can cure or it can kill. It's the same as medicine. And I think there are three things you don't want to see being made. I think you don't want to see um, sausage being made. That's one thing. That's the analogy. Sausage and legislation are the two things that are usually mentioned as the things you don't want to see being made. I think reporting is the third. Um, and so so again, this isn't a conspiracy. This isn't a quote unquote active conspiracy. This is essentially, to a certain extent, how commerce works. Okay. And I have nothing against commerce. I live from commerce. But um, I think it's something we're going to have to be really very much aware of over the next few years. And data collection is also a big issue, and artificial intelligence is becoming kind of a big issue. And again, it can be used for good things, it can be used for bad things. And I think we're seeing this. When I was in back in college a few years ago, globalization was the big, especially in smaller countries, they were really, really scared of globalization. This is not really, and also what they call in the United States neoconservatism, but in other countries they call it neoliberalism, because it ties back to the neoliberal policies of um, the 19th century. All right, so I'm going to pull up a chart for now. I did this earlier. Oh, and by the way, you can explain the Neptune and Pluto um, activities pretty much uh, by using Rahu and Ketu. I always like to do that just because um, I tend to be more um, Vedically, classically Vedically oriented. So essentially, if you look at Rahu moving um, into the constellation connected with the healers of the zodiac, that is the Ashwini Kumars, and Ketu, so that will cause medical scandals and also drug scandals. But when you have Ketu moving into Chitra, that'll cause problems with um, construction and the constructs around which we build society. Essentially, that's the home of Chitra is the home of the lunar architect. Okay, essentially the fellow who the entity who built the world. So I think it's fascinating that we're having these kinds of problems. And also, um, I am expecting a recession later on this year. Um, again, but we have two more important retrogrades coming up. One is um, Venus in July, around July 25th, and Jupiter, which will end around September 2nd. And a Jupiter retrograde will end, which will start right around the same time that um, the Venus retrograde ends. So you'll have um, a bunch of small legal and trade issues coming up over the summertime, and you'll have those having international consequences in the fall. And Rahu will finally move out of the same sign with Jupiter in the end of November. Ketu will move into Virgo, and this would be a time when there's changes. Also, be very careful, just in general, be very careful traveling over the next couple of months. Mars is aspecting Ketu. Be careful of water accidents. I told you I had one on my property. Be careful of water accidents or water breakdowns because the Mars-Venus conjunction in Cancer. And finally, be careful about be careful about detailed aspects in your work because Mars is aspecting Saturn, and that makes people overly picky about work. Okay, so those combinations aren't going to change for about another 2 months, or especially in terms of the Mars Saturn aspect, aren't going to change for about another 2 months. Thankfully, the Mars K2 aspect will leave in about a month or so, or less than a month. And Venus will move into Purva Falguni, will move into Maga, which has to do with the past. And you'll see a lot of legal decisions made then based on precedent in early, I would say, around mid-July. And then after that, Venus will move slowly back into Cancer for a little bit. And then finally in September, move back into Leo. So it should be an interesting couple of months. Maybe some street violence this summertime. I'm expecting that to happen more so during the fall, late fall. But people will be cold then, so maybe that won't happen. But again, some definite problems with the economy, especially in the fall and into November. I'm guardedly optimistic that we'll avoid war. Mars is not aspecting K2 directly anymore. So that's a good sign. Jupiter's moved away from K2. K2 tends to be a war triggering planet. Venus will be in conjunction with Mars within about 2 weeks' time. That'll be kind of a high tension time in relationships and in around the world globally. Okay. And for about, let's say we're talking about really around the second 2 weeks, around mid-July will be kind of a tense time. Okay. So let's get back to how the chart's affecting you and your individual signs. We have Rahu and Jupiter in Aries. So that's April 15th to May 15th. And that particular combination is, I'm just double checking, and I'm going to close the chart and pull it up again, just because I've learned from my mistakes. And we have Rahu and Jupiter in Aries, Moon and Mercury in the second house. So there should be some good income opportunities for people out there who have Aries rising. Saturn's restricting them. It's making them feel unhappy or dissatisfied. They want to move forward. They want to do new things, but that combination is a little bit difficult for them to do that. But it'll be a little bit, at least momentarily, good for money for the next couple of weeks for the sign, and also good in terms of fulfilling desires. The fifth house lord is in the third house, great for communications for Aries. And although, again, they will be a little bit short-tempered, they'll calm down after a little while, but they would be a little bit short-tempered. And Mars is aspecting K2 in this chart, so relationships will be tough. You'll feel like your relationship partner or your business partners are actually lying to you. So just be a little careful about that. Saturn's in the 11th house, so that slows down gains. It's not a bad combination, but a lot of emphasis on work, which is what's called a Gati Lagna, and that's used for evaluating work and also fame. So this sign will be very focused on work this week. For Taurus, Taurus, this is May 15th to June 15th. Moon and Mercury moves in its exalted placement along with Mercury, which is a friend to this particular rising sign. So that makes this sign kind of optimistic. They will spend a lot of money, though, on what I would call frivolous things or things that will help them get rid of their anger, but really won't help them in the long run. And they'll also be very romantically aggressive at this particular time. Again, for most signs, except for Aquarius, I think I'm encouraging them to stay out of relationships or avoid long-term relationships. Venus is placed in the heart, so there'll be a lot of passion for this combination. Um, a lot of sexual interest for the sign. And K2 sits in the sixth house, so you have to be careful about your health issues for the sign, especially dietary issues. Saturn's in the 10th house, great for occupational advancement, but a lot of hard work. And you have Rahu and Jupiter in the 12th house, which is where I get the expenses on friends and also on relationship partners. For Gemini, Gemini will shine this month. This is Gemini's month, June 15th June to July 15th. The new moon will start in Gemini tomorrow, so it's a good time for starting communications activities. Venus and Mars are in the second house, so again, good for expressing things romantically or diplomatically. Good for what I would call rebirth opportunities for the sign. K2's in the fifth house. Love affairs will seem to be a little bit odd. Also, relationship partners will seem to be a little bit angry or disturbed or elusive for this particular sign. So they'll feel some dissatisfaction in relationship life. They'll have to work much harder to keep relationships pleasant than normal. And this will continue actually for another couple of months or so. So this will be bouncing back and forth. The other thing is for this sign, Saturn's in the ninth house, so they'll build up prestige certainly, and they'll also spend a lot of money though on things which will make them more public or more well known. Okay, but they will have to watch out for intoxicants because of the Rahu, and also their friends influencing them to take intoxicants because of Rahu answering in the sign of the Ashwini Kumars. So that's Ashwini Nakshatra. For Cancer, a lot of focus on romantic life, a lot of focus on career life for Cancer. Mars is actually considered to be weak in this sign, but it has a curious property that it is both weak and favorable for the sign because it rules the fifth house and the ninth house. So Mars's significations themselves tend to get a little bit screwed up. So people will be hurt more easily. They'll be more quick to temper, especially for emotional issues. But that's a little calm because of Moon being exalted right now. Also, if we look at the sign, K2's in the fourth house, so we can expect some problems with family members, especially siblings, because of the emotional energy connected with the third house Lord, and um, and the the 12th house. Also, Gemini should have problems with siblings. I mentioned that earlier, because the first house, the third house Lord is in the first house, so siblings will be on your mind. Um, but again, a lot of aggravation in home life. Mars is aspecting Ketu. Um, Saturn is in the eighth house. We've already spoken about that a little bit. Relationship partners will seem to be distant or difficult. And ninth house Lord um, is in the first house, so that actually should be good for luck for this sign. 10th house, good for career life for this sign. I'm sorry, 11th house, good for career life for this sign, and good for gains. But again, a lot of expenses because of family members. For Leo has a relatively stable relationship life, although it's really not that exciting. And we have K2 in the third house, so the sun will have a lot of courage this month. Moon and let's move down here. Saturn's in the seventh house, so again, stable, but kind of um, predictable relationship life. Um, Aries is in the ninth house, and with Jupiter and Rahu. So again, there'll be this strong desire to proselytize or to preach to people. Career life actually looks good, although there can be some losses because of career, because of the exchange of lords between the 10th house and 12th house, but this can also mean good exposure in other countries. And Mercury is Lord of the 11th house, so that's good for career experience, for career growth, but also good for financial gain from career. So that's for Leo. For Virgo rising, Ketu's in the second house, so again, some problems with communication are indicated. Um, a lot of a lot of times this sign will say things it doesn't really mean, or it'll be misunderstood. So you'll have to be very careful in terms of your phrasing and make sure you go back and correct things when you make mistakes. Um, Good for financial growth for the sign. Venus and Mars are in the 11th house. Um, Saturn's in the sixth, so you'll have to watch out for your health, especially your digestive health. And also, you'll have to watch out for hidden problems in uh, down in the area connected with um, urination. Um, and this sign will seem to have a certain mysterious quality about it. It'll seem to be sexy. That's the best way to put it. But also people won't trust the sign because of Rahu being down there. But there'll be a lot of energy. Moon and Mercury are in the ninth house. That's good for financial gains for the sign. Sun's in the 10th house, so career will cost it some money. And Venus and Mars in the 11th house, good for financial gains. For Libra has K2 in the first house. A lot of focus on career life. Second house, Lord of finances, and the seventh house, Lord of relationships, are in the 10th house. So there may be some potential for romantic involvement through career. Again, I wouldn't recommend it. Um, and but there will also be good potential for gains, especially from spouse from this chart. The Lord of the 11th is in the ninth house, so that actually gives us this sign some positive publicity. Um, Saturn is in the fifth. That's Saturn in its own sign, so that's good. But so it'll make the sign more creative, more willing to work hard and write. And Jupiter's in the seventh house. Relationship partners will seem to be difficult to please. For a Scorpio, Mercury and Moon are in the 10th house, a lot of attraction to um, beautiful but fickle relationship partners. Um, may have short tempers, but very attractive. Um, this isn't necessarily a bad month uh, for Scorpio, but again, the relationship partner may have a little bit more of a temper or be more sensitive than you would like. Um, and um, but again, not necessarily a bad time for this sign. And Saturn's in the fourth. A lot of responsibility connected with work life, a great deal of responsibility connected with home life. I'm sorry, with building work life, and also Jupiter's in the sixth house with Rahu, so you'll have to be careful about overindulging in foods. Um, Sun's in the eighth house. Confidence will be a little bit down for this sign, but they will seem to be very, very attractive. So overall, not a bad week but watch out for unnecessary expenditures because of K2 being in as well. So not a bad week for Scorpio, but a little mixed. But okay, so we had to break that time, and I'm going to pull it back up and try it again. It's almost exactly where I started having problems the last time, so hopefully it will maintain itself. So I'm going to sort of speed through these signs. Sagittarius has a lot of courage, a lot of ambition this month, a lot of focus on relationship life, a great deal of focus on relationship life. Um, Children will be outstandingly smart, but also a little bit difficult to deal with. But this is a Raj Yoga. This is actually good for earning unexpected awards from past efforts. Moon and Mercury are in the 11th house. Again, sort of a problem for stomach, but the Moon and Venus combination is actually good. This is called a repeat Raj Yoga, so you should actually enjoy some fame or recognition from this combination. Sun's in the seventh house. Again, it gives recognition or prominence to this sign. This is the United States rising sign, so that's why there's a huge spotlight on the United States right now, uh, and also its leadership. Um, Venus and Mars are in the eighth house, so there are hidden problems with the leadership with this sign, hidden issues, especially connected with romantic involvement and also with finances. So just be careful how you spend your money this month. K2 is in the 11th house. Don't trust your friends. Don't blindly trust. That's a repeating theme for Sagittarius, but it holds true. For Capricorn, Capricorn has Saturn in the second house, Rahu in the fourth. Now, this combination makes it a little bit difficult for this sign to make progress because it's going to need extra education. It's also going to have a lot of responsibilities connected with money at home and money connected with property. Career life will be a little bit strained because of the Venus Mars conjunction in this chart. Although, again, like I said, there is a positive aspect in that this sign will get a bit of fame or recognition for career life because of the Parivarna Yoga between Venus and the Moon. And the Moon is exalted, so this should actually bring a great deal of fame, unexpected fame to the sign. The other thing is money acquisition will be a little bit slow to come. It will be there, but it'll be slow to come, and it'll be definitely connected with career life. So this is not a bad week for Capricorn. But again, career recognition is a little bit of a problem. But this week in particular, and for the next 2 weeks, it won't be that big an issue. For Aquarius, Aquarius has Sun in the fifth house as Lord of the seventh house. So there's a lot of intensity connected with emotional life, a lot of intensity connected with partnerships. So there maybe it's somebody you're really interested in, or else a new partnership that you want to take up again from the past. disconnected with your home or connected with learning, and will require some effort on your part, but will result in a good deal of recognition. But again, you'll have to watch out for your temper. Connected, I don't like this at all. Okay. Okay, so the connection's been broken a couple of times, so let's hope this is one solid take. Stop the share. And let's go back to Aquarius. All right, so it's sharing. All right, so Aquarius has a lot of ability to command, a lot of ability to control people, a lot of control over its impulses, some good potential for financial gain, but just be careful of expenses and also be careful about keeping your temper uh, on the job or in your tasks because of the Mars aspect on K2. Um, there may even be arguments with teachers or with people who are in the same field as you are. For Pisces, Pisces has Jupiter and Rahu in the second house, a lot of focus on money and expenditure patterns. Moon and Mercury are in the third house, good for financial gains, good for exploring new activities. Sun's in the fourth house. That's actually good for overcoming health issues and a lot of focus on home life. Venus and Mars are in the fifth house, and this will help fulfill ambitions, especially of siblings or people who you know um, as almost like brother and sister. And it will also give you some increased um, uh, gain, financial gain from past money activities. But again, be careful not to get too fired up and too dogmatic about your opinions. K2's in the eighth house in the chart, so there will be some disagreements or arguments with relationship partners, not really serious ones. And Saturn's in the 12th house, so again, watch out for expenditures. Now let's look to the world map before this thing goes off screen again. Um, and hopefully everything worked out okay. Okay, so this is the astro mapping. Okay, so we do have some lines showing up. Earlier on, when I did this morning, the Hawaiian Islands were in peril, but right now, it looks more like the west coast of the United States is having some problems. I know San Francisco's been having major problems lately. And so you got the Jupiter Rahu line um, heading over that general part of the world, and also a Mars line. So there can be some acts of violence in that part of the country. Maybe even some. I know there's been some uh, minor volcanic activity in Yellowstone lately, and also with Jupiter over here, you'll see a lot of um, political wrangling, especially on the west coast of the United States. Maybe even some conflicts, some street violence over here. It's in Oregon and Washington, Northern California, probably extending to Southern California because of the Mars line right here, and maybe even affecting Mexico. Um, this line right here is a descending Saturn line going right through the midsection of the United States, um, passing over North Dakota and South Dakota and into Kansas down into Louisiana, excuse me, into down through Louisiana and Oklahoma and into Texas, eastern Texas. So we can expect a lot of news around this part of the country, maybe even um, some problems with crops or with manufacturing. Mercury's going over Michigan, so we've heard about pollution situation in Michigan. It's been ongoing, but this will extend all the way down into Nicaragua, um, into Honduras, and there'll actually be a large focus um, on the government in both um, the Quebec and Toronto regions of Canada and Ottawa, and also in the northeastern United States, all the way through New York, down through Washington, D.C., down through Florida, Cuba, and Panama, and into the a lot of governments will be uh, in the public eye in South America. And we have a lot of publicity around Venezuela and Colombia, Peru, Chile, and Argentina. Um, Also, it looks like there's some political scandal uh, occurring in Brazil and some danger of volcanic activity or water disasters off in Iceland and also close to the Azores and the Canaries, um, and maybe even Madeira. Um, we have a Saturn line running through France, close to Spain, through Algeria, and all the way down into close to Ghana and close to Gabon, um, down here close to the Ivory Coast. I think one of the things that you have right here is there's a lot of economic trouble in France, Spain, Algeria, all the way down here, all the way up into England, into London. And that will affect the politics of that area, obviously. Um, the other parts over here, there's a Mercury line running up through um, uh, into Greece and into Eastern Europe. So, given how Mercury is placed, uh, there'll be some land issues in the chart, some territorial issues in the chart. Also, we have a Mercury line running up through Turkey. Turkey will be in the news a lot. So Syria, so Iran, and all the way into um, Iraq. It looks like to me, and I think you'll see some shifting of governments in this part of the world right here. Maybe not so much in Turkey because they just had an election, but Egypt, down into the Sudan, and maybe some hope for negotiations. But I usually see some lines as being more efforts for governments to seize control or to mandate things. You'll see some government crackdowns, I think, in Russia, especially around Moscow over here, and also some panic around the Moscow area. Um, Also, some panic in Iran and down through Kazakhstan, and I think that's Kazakhstan. I'm not sure, and over into um, touching Afghanistan and Pakistan. There's a Mars Venus line in um, India. Looks like there'll be problems all the way from Kerala up to Delhi, up to um, northeast India, into uh, Bangladesh, and all the way into uh, China, connected with um, water events, floods, and I know there was a large railway accident in India last week. My heart goes out to those people, and so again, it's just be very careful traveling, be extremely careful traveling. Um, there's a Saturn and a Mercury line sort of intersecting over Southeast Asia here, and is pretty much over Laos, and Cambodia. We have a moon line and a sun line passing over Vietnam. So those two countries will be in the news a lot. Um, if we go over here, China's going to be in the news a lot because of governmental crackdowns, I think. So Indonesia, and finally over here we have a Jupiter Rahu line passing through Japan. So Japan will be experiencing a little bit of panic in connection with the economy. So will South Korea, and so will New Guinea, and so will Australia. This isn't very different from what I saw this morning, but it's updated. Also, expect, since this line is coming so close to New Zealand, we will probably see some expectations of people will resign their positions in New Zealand. That's already happening, but it may actually lead to a change in the prime ministership in New Zealand uh, very shortly. Um, the other thing is we have a Mars line running through here. It's not really interacting with something, but with anything except for this island channel here, which I can't remember, unfortunately. I don't believe this is the Marshalls. This is Micronesia, I think. And uh, also, so some flooding problems also up in um, flooding or water problems also up into um, Russia. One thing I can say with some certainty is we have Saturn lines. Where we see Saturn lines, watch out for air accidents because um, Saturn's in a sign ruled by air. So we have um, possible air accidents over here, possible air accidents. I have to look closer over here, Eastern United States, Western South America, and possible air accidents over, are we over here, this part of the world. So that's something to be. This doesn't mean every plane that goes in the sky is going to get is going to be injured, but especially towards the end of next week, uh, I'd exercise extreme care in travel. Okay. Again, every burden, every flaw is an opportunity for growth. I love you all not only for watching, but for being who you are. And I would encourage you to subscribe. It helps out a lot. It means a lot for me. And please comment and share. Thanks for watching. I hope the interruptions didn't ruin the video. But I'll review it before I put it up. Thanks again, everyone. I love you all. Take care of yourselves and namaste. And remember, always grow, always keep on moving. Bye.